I'm excited to have author Stephanie Landsem with us today. Stephanie, I loved your book. I just,
I'm so glad. That's
thank
awesome.
you for writing it, and thank you for talking with me. I've just really been big into World War II novels, and I guess I don't know if you classify this as a World War II novel. It's kind of got Nazis and Hitler.
Yeah, I think is a lead up into World War II. Absolutely, yes.
Yes, and so the book's name is Code Name Edelweiss. So can you just tell us about it?
Yes, I mean, I am excited about this book too. It was really fun to write, really fun to research. So it's about, it's based on a true story of this lone Jewish lawyer in Los Angeles who discovered and foiled, along with these spies that he recruited himself, they discovered and stopped this threat of Nazis in Hollywood, and they were trying to take over the film studios.
And this is
before we got in 1933, so very far before anyone was really even concerned with Hitler, which is weird for us to think. Like, Hitler is synonymous with evil in our minds, but back then he was just another German leader that was maybe a little bit crazy, but nobody feared him. Nobody thought he was any big deal. So that's that in itself is kind of amazing to think about. Like, they just thought that he was nobody. And he ended up, starting a world war and almost winning it.
Yeah. So then you've got Liesel,
Liesel Weiss.
Yes. So tell us about her and what.
She is my main character, and she is based on the real spies that Leon Lewis recruited. He recruited men and women, Christian, Aryan-looking. They had to look German, and most of them spoke German because he wanted these spies to infiltrate the German-American organizations in Los Angeles that were not even slowly, but were being recruited and influenced by Nazis who had been sent by Hitler to infiltrate Los Angeles and to just set up a network there. Hitler already knew that he wanted influence over Hollywood because that was just a very big a way to get his propaganda out. So he was brilliant. I mean, he knew what he was doing very early on. In 1933, he had just been elected chancellor, and he was just starting his plan. So Liesel is kind of a conglomeration of some of the female spies that Leon Lewis created. She's a single mother. She not only has to deal with Nazis in her backyard, basically. She's the only supporter of her family. She has 2 small children. Her mother lives with her, and her mother is not an easy person to deal with. And then she has this brother who is also somewhat troubled and a headache for her. So she's got a lot going on, a lot on her plate.
Yeah. I just saw so many parallels to today in your book, and I'm like, does Stephanie know? Does she realize this, or is she doing?
Yeah. Well, I was researching it, and I was like, happening now. That sounds very familiar. Very much about media and propagandizing, and how people are lied to, and also just slowly radicalized into something that's dangerous, especially radicalization of young men during that time. So it has a lot of echoes of what's happening right now.
Yeah. And the one thing that, reading this, I just thought, man, would I make the right choice in this situation? Liesel has to pretend to be a Nazi. And you were saying that they really did have to do that in real life. Yeah, the real life spies had to really get into their roles. They had to pretend to everyone, their friends, neighbors, and their family, that they were parts of the German-American, the Friends of New Germany, which was a Nazi organization, the Ku Klux Klan, some other fronts that were, very anti-Semitic, and they had to keep that up their whole lives. They couldn't just, go to work and pretend to be a spy and then live their life. No, they were definitely lying to their families, and they were putting themselves in a lot of danger because those Nazi operatives were dangerous. They knew what they were doing, and once you were in with them, you were not getting out. Like, they would not let you leave the organization. So yeah, it was dangerous. So, you know, I remember when you were talking about this 2 years ago at this retreat, and I thought, I can't wait for this book. And what other interesting things did you find in your research?
Just a lot of what I put in the book came directly from the historical documents that Leon Lewis is the real hero of the story. He's a real guy. He could see so far into the future, he was almost prophetic. Like, he knew what we should be fearing and what we should be avoiding when it came to Germany and Hitler. And so he's the hero. He did this all on his own. Nobody would listen to him. The police wouldn't listen to him. The federal government was more concerned with communism than they were with Nazis. They wouldn't hear him at all. So he took it upon himself to investigate and to try to stop these guys but through legal means. Like, he wasn't about protesting or, you know, anything illegal. He was using very legal means to get some of these characters, bad guys, deported so that they couldn't they couldn't follow Hitler's plan and do anything with Hollywood or get infiltrated any more into Los Angeles than they already were.
And so why haven't we heard about Leon Lewis?
I know. Why don't we know about him? That's probably what really made me want to write the book too. It's because I want people to know about this guy. He's very quiet. He kept great records. There's boxes and boxes of his documents and records in one of the California universities, which it was COVID when I was researching, so I didn't get to go and like put on the white gloves and look through the things. But they have a great online resource. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about him because we don't know much about him personally. He had a wife and he had 2 kids. He died kind of young. He died in his early 60s, and he was a very private man. But he did this great thing that hardly anyone knows about.
And you were saying that perhaps the FBI maybe took over his work and then classified it.
Right. So once Pearl Harbor, the United States was very torn about whether to enter the war when it was just Hitler invading other parts of Europe. And so they were also not interested in Leon Lewis's operation until we got into the war. And then all the Germans were deported out of the United States, and they did take over his operation. They took all of his materials, and then that all became classified. And I'm not certain, but I don't think it was declassified until maybe like the 1990s or the 80s, but by then nobody knew about it. So very few people were going to start going through those boxes and write about it until this professor from Colorado, Stephen J. Ross, wrote a book about it called Hitler in Los Angeles. And I picked that book up and went, Hitler wasn't in Los Angeles? What is this about? And I started reading it and went, people need to know about this. This is a great story.
Yeah. You mentioned that Leon Lewis was perhaps prophetic, and that, I think God had his hand in all of this. I mean, if you think about how bad things could have gone, he could have gotten that foothold in Hollywood. He could have, we could have been so many things.
We could have had a Nazi front in Los Angeles during World War II. I don't know if we would have won the war.
Yeah.
So
do you see God's hand in all of this?
Absolutely. And I mean, people, that's a constant question for people. Why does God allow evil? And especially looking at World War II, why did God allow that? Why did he allow Hitler? Why did he allow the Holocaust? And those are really, really good questions with very deep and extensive theological answers. But I think in the book, my characters are asking that also. That's their question. And they come to the same conclusions through this work with Leon Lewis, and they, express them in their own personal ways. So we have a child asking it. We have both of my characters are both looking for answers to this question, and that's kind of the theme of the book is how do we reconcile a good God with all of these evil things that we see around us, and what does he want us to do about it?
Yeah. So. Well, thank you for taking on Leon's story, and
yeah, I was happy to.
you know, and that's what I love about, well, I don't love World War II,
Right.
but I mean,
reading about World
that's
War II.
what's interesting is there are so many different facets of it that I just never knew. And so thank you for introducing Leon to me.
You're welcome.
And what else do you have coming out in the future? What are you working on?
I work very slowly, as my fans are well aware. So read all the other good books out there while you wait. But I am working on another little-known piece of American history that happened in 1959. It was a massive earthquake that hit Wyoming and Yellowstone National Park and kind of destroyed the park. There was a lot of deaths. There was a huge rescue effort, and I'm researching that mostly right now by interviewing survivors of the earthquake, one of whom was my mom, and her two sisters were all working at Yellowstone at the time, and they have great memories of what they did in different parts of the park when the earthquake hit. So that's the story I'm working on, is a young married, a new bride with a new baby, and her two sisters are in Yellowstone during this massive earthquake, and what happens to them.
You know, I think it's so cool. You guys, I think authors must be the smartest people because you get to research all this interesting stuff. Well, and I think, you know, I feel like I would be so dumb if I didn't read, you know, and not in the bad sense, but just in the history of things. And okay, so Stephanie, how can people connect with you, learn more about your books?
StephanieLandsem.com. All the stuff is there, including if you're interested in the history behind the facts behind the fiction of Codename Edelweiss. I've written a small nonfiction ebook called The Facts Behind the Fiction of Codename Edelweiss. And Tyndale has published it for me, and so it's available for free on my website also.
Okay, I'm excited to check that out.
Yeah.
And also Stephanie has a connection to our Detroit Lakes area.
That's
Your
right.
husband is from Detroit Lakes.
Yep,
so.
the Laker.
Nice. All right. Well,
Yes.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And you're using your gifts so that I can read your wonderful stories, and I just thank you.
I appreciate that. I appreciate a chance to talk about it.
All right.
So thanks.